America, the land of the free, home of the brave, and bafflingly attached to an electoral system older than sliced bread. That's right, folks. We're talking about the Electoral College, that archaic institution that decides who gets to be the most powerful person on the planet. Why, you ask? Well, back in the 1700s, our founding fathers, bless their powdered wigs, were a tad suspicious of direct democracy. They feared the tyranny of the majority, you see, because letting regular folks directly choose their leader, downright terrifying apparently. So they cooked up the Electoral College, a system where each state gets a certain number of electors based on its population. Think of them like delegates who actually get to pick the president. The idea was to give smaller states a bit more say in things, because, Rhode Island needs just as much representation as California, right? It's not like one state has 40 million people and the other has the population of a medium-sized petting zoo. Now, you might be thinking, John, this sounds like something a bunch of guys who still wrote with quill pens would come up with. And you'd be right. But hold on to your tricorn hats, because it gets even weirder. Each state gets the same number of electors as it has members of Congress. That's senators plus representatives in case you failed civics. So, California, with its massive population, gets a whopping 55 electors. Wyoming, on the other hand, gets a whopping 3. See the problem here? It's like playing a game where the points are made up and the population doesn't matter. Now, these electors are supposed to vote for the candidate who won the popular vote in their state. But here's the kicker. They don't actually have to. There's this thing called a faithless elector, which is basically a fancy term for an elector who goes rogue. Imagine a world where your vote for president could be overridden by some guy named Bob who decided to vote for his goldfish instead. Democracy. But wait, there's more. Because in this glorious system we call the Electoral College, it's not about how many votes you get overall, it's about winning states. Which brings us to, in 48 out of 50 states, it's winner-take-all, baby. That means if you win the popular vote in a state, even by a tiny margin, you get all of that state's electors. So let's say you're running for president and you win California by 1 vote. Congratulations, you just snagged yourself 55 electors. Meanwhile, your opponent could win a bunch of smaller states by a landslide, racking up millions more votes overall, but still lose the election. Because, fairness. Now, Maine and Nebraska, those bastions of electoral rebellion, decided to do things a little differently. They used something called a congressional district method. Basically, they divvy up their electors based on who wins each congressional district, with the overall state winner getting 2 bonus electors. It's slightly more proportional, sure, but it's still about as democratic as a game of Monopoly rigged by your older brother. So what happens when the popular vote and the Electoral College disagree? Well, buckle up, Buttercup, because things are about to get messy. Remember the 2016 election? Hillary Clinton won the popular vote by nearly 3 million votes, but Donald Trump snagged the presidency because he won the Electoral College. And before you start yelling about hanging chads, this wasn't the first time the Electoral College went rogue. It's happened 5 times in US history, actually. Which begs the question, if the person who gets the most votes doesn't always win, what exactly are we doing here? Proponents of the Electoral College say it protects the interests of smaller states and prevents candidates from focusing solely on large urban areas. They argue that it forces candidates to build broader coalitions and ensures that all parts of the country have a voice. Which is a lovely sentiment until you realize that it also means millions of voters in states that are considered safe for one party or the other are essentially ignored. Because hey, why bother campaigning in California if you're a Republican, right? So is the Electoral College suitable for the future? Well, that's a topic for another day, folks. But let's just say that maybe, just maybe, it's time to update our electoral system for the 21st century. Something a little less 1787. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And hit the notification bell to stay updated with our latest content.